When it comes to fantasy football, there are wide receivers who are good, there are some who are great, and then there's some who are league winners. What's the difference? Well, you're going to find out when we give you our favorite picks. Before we get to that, we have some exciting news for you.
Flockfantasy.com/endgame is the ultimate cheat code for your fantasy football season. Put your fantasy football skills to the test by playing redraft against myself and Pierre. Battle us to try to take home cash prizes. And you can ace your draft like a pro with our exclusive video draft course to help you dominate your fantasy drafts. Gain the edge with our top-notch draft rankings plus our weekly in-season rankings. And get access to our secret knowledge with our bonus articles and videos that you cannot find anywhere else. And as a special bonus, you can show off your fantasy skills in style by wearing one of our classy Endgame t-shirts for free just by being a member. Sign up now at flockfantasy.com/endgame and get an amazing 30% off your subscription.
All right, now everybody wants to know who is that league-winning wide receiver and why.
I really think CeeDee Lamb is going to help a ton of teams win leagues this year. He helped teams win leagues last year, and it's like nobody noticed because this guy still goes towards the end of the first round in a lot of drafts, and I don't understand why. He's a stud, elite, real-life wide receiver. He should be right there with Stephon Diggs, in my opinion, but he's not. And when you look at it, his 3-year progression, he's progressed in every possible way. His targets have gone up every year. His receptions have gone up every year. His yards have gone up every year. He's done everything you want to see in an elite talent who's getting better year after year. Now entering year 4, should take another step forward. And there were only really 2 areas that he kind of struggled in last year. Number 1, he didn't get a lot of red zone targets. He was 18th in red zone targets. Number 2, even though he was good, if you look at the yard after catch numbers, if you look at it on a per reception basis, he was 71st in yards after catch per reception. I think both those numbers go up this year, and he absolutely smashes. Dalton Schultz, who's one of the biggest red zone targets in this offense, is gone. Zeke, another guy who was not a red zone target necessarily, but he was a guy when they got near the goal line, they just gave it to Zeke. He's gone. So I could see CeeDee Lamb getting many more red zone targets this year and increasing his touchdown total. Also, his yards after catch per reception should go way up because this is an offense, unlike the Kellen Moore offense, that is designed to throw it down the field and basically you catch the ball down the field and then you get tackled. This offense is designed, get the ball out quick, get it to receivers in timing, get it to receivers in space, and let them make plays. And that's what CeeDee Lamb can do. He is going to be a monster in the yard after catch department this year, I feel. I think we see him go up again in every metric this year. Targets, receptions, definitely more yards, most likely more touchdowns. And if he does all that, he's going to crush it in fantasy football this year. And I keep saying it, outside of the big 4, Jefferson, Chase, Hill, and Kupp, I think CeeDee Lamb has the best case as finishing as the top scoring wide receiver.
A lot of people forget CeeDee Lamb had to deal with Cooper Rush as a starting quarterback for several games, and he was fine, but man, a full year of Dak Prescott is just going to help. We go live every single week, multiple times, and we get a lot of questions. We talk about a lot of players. One question that we get a lot is, do you believe in the Justin Fields and DJ Moore connection in Chicago? Is DJ Moore going to be fine? Well, here's my answer. I think he could be a league winner because this is a guy who will have the best season of his career, and he's already been a good fantasy wide receiver. He's now going to take it to the next level. Now, here are the obvious counter arguments to that. Well, Justin Fields isn't going to be a great passer. You know, I know it's just intuitively hard to trust the Chicago Bears offense because Chicago Bears never really have a good quarterback and wide receiver duo. I get that, all right, but times are different now. Look, Justin Fields, here's one thing I don't think anybody can dispute. He will be better than he was last year. He will have a better year as a passer, and he will improve because he's got a stud receiver in DJ Moore. But he's also just going to take that next step forward, obviously another year of experience. He said he wants to be the first Bears passer to throw for 4,000 yards. He could do it, but even if he doesn't, who cares? Because DJ Moore is going to be the beneficiary of however many passes he throws. And DJ Moore, let me remind you, he has lived with quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield, Taylor Heineke, an old Cam Newton. The list goes on. We know that he has never really had a guy that has been dependable. He's had a different situation every year. Well, finally, he's in a situation where he's not just clearly the number 1 receiver, but also a young, developing quarterback who is probably the most talented that he has been around. DJ Moore is going to have the best season of his career, and he's already put up 1,100 yards, remember, season after season after season, despite that Carolina offense that keeps changing. So I believe in the connection. I believe that there's really not that much competition I'm worried about. Darnell Mooney, if he's healthy, he's okay, but not amazing. Chase Claypool, I don't trust in any way whatsoever. So DJ Moore, I think, is set for a great season. He's available right now, just outside the top 40 in most drafts, and I think he's well worth it. All right, who's another wide receiver you think could be huge in fantasy?
Yeah, I'm really starting to come around on Calvin Ridley. I never doubted the talent. We know this guy is an exceptional route runner, a great talent. We get comments sometimes, people saying like, oh, he was only good because they had Julio Jones. That's not true. He was outproducing Julio Jones, and he was good even without Julio Jones. He's a great talent, a great wide receiver. My only worry with him was, what is he going to be like coming back after a year and a half off from football? Is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be in shape? Well, everything we've seen and heard out of camp is he looks fantastic. That's enough for me because it's not so much just about Calvin Ridley, the player. It's about this Jacksonville passing game and this situation. I want a piece of this Jacksonville passing game any chance I can have because basically last year was Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. I know technically the year before was, but he had to play with Urban Meyer. That was like Mickey Mouse, rinky-dink, barely an NFL team. Last year was his first year in a real NFL offense with a guy like Doug Peterson, learning that system. And what did he do? He smashed over 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns. Now year 2 in this offense, he's only going to get better. I keep talking. I think we can see 4,500 yards, mid-30 touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence. And I still like Christian Kirk. I still like Evan Ingram. But Calvin Ridley is the alpha number 1 wide receiver here. He's going to get the highest target share in this offense. And if Trevor Lawrence is going to make that massive leap this year, like I think he's going to, I want his number 1 wide receiver, and that is Calvin Ridley. So really the only thing I think that can stop Calvin Ridley is an injury. There is risk with that because, again, it has been so long. But the fact that he looks like he's in shape and all the reports are he looks great, that has alleviated my worries in that regard. I'm willing to gamble on him and shoot for that league-winning upside.
Upside is what it's all about. And so it has to be the right combination of talent and opportunity. But we see, with running back, it's more about opportunity. With wide receiver, talent is usually what draws those targets. So here we go. I know this is one pick maybe you're not on board with. I'm buying into the George Pickens hype. Yes, I am. And not because of the hype and not because of the highlights. There's plenty of guys who throw out those highlights during training camp, right? So just because Jason Brownlee makes a one-handed catch on the sideline doesn't mean I'm drafting him. George Pickens does this on the regular, and that's fine, but that's not the issue. That's not what I'm looking for here because, we've said in the past that, he's more about highlights versus production, right? The numbers have to be there. I think they're going to be there. I'm coming around because here's the thing. With Pickens, you see that argument as far as separation, or not separation. It doesn't matter. If you catch the ball, you catch the ball. If they throw it to you and you catch it, that's what matters. So separation doesn't matter when you are his height and his reach and his hands. The contested catch rate of 30%. So he is that type of receiver where separation isn't what matters. There's plenty of receivers who don't get a ton of separation and still make a ton of catches. DeAndre Hopkins these days, he's that guy. He's not going to leave a cornerback in the dust at his age, but he still sucks up a ton of catches. All right, George Pickens is going to have his quarterback's trust, and I'm not sure if he'll technically be the number 1 receiver in that offense. Deontay Johnson is pretty good. He's really good at getting separation and being open and catching whatever's thrown his way, but it doesn't matter. We've seen over and over the best offenses that have these 2 stud receivers. You want both of them. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. It doesn't matter really as far as 1 and 2. George Pickens managed to get over 800 yards as a rookie, as one of the younger players in the league, even though he had Mitch Trubisky at quarterback to start his career for several games, and then he had a inexperienced and not accurate Kenny Pickett who kept turning the ball over for his first few games. It's only the second half of the season he had anything resembling stable quarterback play. So even despite that, it's kind of amazing that he was able to put up the numbers he did as a rookie. I think 1,000 yards is basically in the bag. We could see with his red zone ability, double-digit touchdowns, and yet you can get him as your third receiver. That's the upside I'm looking for at the value you can get, and that's what I think makes him a potential league winner when he can have those huge spike games that help lead your team to victory. All right, and then there's another receiver who looks like a screaming value in the middle rounds here.
Yeah, we often hear people kind of shy away from drafting rookies, like, oh, he's a rookie, he's never taken an NFL snap. I don't really understand that. We see rookies help teams win championships all the time. I mean, a couple years ago, Amon-Ra St. Brown carried teams to championships. Last year, Tyler Algier was carrying teams to championships. And I can go back, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I mean, we see it all the time here. And I think this year it's going to be Jordan Addison. I love where he landed here in Minnesota. He's the perfect complement to Justin Jefferson. He's not a number one alpha wide receiver. He's a complementary number two wide receiver. And then he landed in an offense, a top 5 passing offense. That's probably going to be a top 5 passing offense again this year because Kevin O'Connell, that's what he likes to do. I talked about it last year that they were going to throw the ball a ton, but also they have one of the worst defenses that hasn't really gotten any better. They're still going to be a terrible defense. They're going to be throwing the ball a ton, 35, 40 attempts per game. They can't all go to Justin Jefferson. I know a lot of them will, of course, but there's going to be more here. Jordan Addison, clearly the number 2 wide receiver. He's better than KJ Osborne. I'm sorry, Hawkinson fans. He's better than TJ Hawkinson when it comes to route running and catching. He's going to be awesome this year. I keep talking about it. I think he's going to lead all rookies in receptions and yards. If there's an issue, it may be touchdowns, but he'll score enough touchdowns, especially where you're drafting him. A lot of times going in the late middle rounds, maybe even the double-digit rounds in some more casual leagues. So Jordan Addison, to me, a rookie wide receiver who can absolutely smash this year and help teams win championships, similar to what Amon-Ra St. Brown did a couple years ago.
Again, it's always about that ceiling. You want guys who have the potential to reach the next level, but you get them at a discount. So my last pick here, I'm going to go for kind of a leap of faith. I'm going to say that John Metchie emerges as the top receiver in Houston and also as a guy that you can start week in, week out and has those boom weeks. So Metchie, you know the story, a guy who's essentially a rookie because he missed all last year with leukemia. He's back in the practice field, full participant, looks like he'll be good to go. No issues there, no worry of regression or anything like that. So he's going to be back. He's going to be the starting receiver here. Now, not a great offense. I'm just going to put it out there. We know this isn't going to be a dynamic offense necessarily because it's Houston. I mean, when's the last time they had a really good offense? And the passing game is kind of questionable because we got a rookie quarterback in the mix. But here's why I believe in it, because I'm big on CJ Stroud. In fact, I'll come out and say I think out of all rookie quarterbacks, he's going to be the best this year in fantasy. Long term, who knows, remains to be seen. But I like Stroud's chances immediately because he's all about accuracy, decision making, and I think he's going to be put in position to succeed. Now, there's going to be a mix of receivers here. We got Nico Collins. I like Nico Collins, but he's going earlier than Metchie in fantasy drafts. Robert Woods. I think it's safe to say he might be dust at this point. Tank Dell, Stroud likes him, but I was never big on him. I don't see him soaking up too many targets. And then you got John Metchie. He's the one who really stands out and profiles more as a number 1 receiver. You might remember back in Alabama, he was pretty good. The only reason he wasn't the top receiver there is because there was a guy named Jameson Williams who was just a little bit better. But man, he went 1,100 yards, averaged 13 yards per reception at Bama. And, he was drafted in the 2nd round for a reason. The only reason he hasn't stood out yet is because of that unfortunate setback. I'm going to take a swing here and say that this is a guy who could stand out and be his team's leading receiver and have those big plays that help you on a weekly basis, and he's basically free in drafts. That's what you're looking for, a ton of upside at a huge discount. And if you missed our top 50 rankings for fantasy football, here's where you can catch it.